we have learned so much from the system and from the books, the tapes and the functions, and from our leaders, Pat and Greta and Jerry and Mandy, because they set a wonderful example of what good relationships are all about. Has anyone found that since you've been building the business, you seem to be slightly busier than you were before? Lots of nodding faces. Because you're busy with working your job, aren't you? And then you're working this business in your spare time. And I remember just getting so tired all the time. And I remember saying to Jerry Kent, God, I just don't know how much longer we can go on. We are just so tired. And Jerry explained that, it wasn't the business that was making us tired, it was the job. And he was right. Now that we don't work anymore, we don't get tired. But so if you're finding, that perhaps life is pretty hectic at the moment, I can really relate to that. I remember sort of pulling my hair out thinking, where does all the time go? And there was just one comment. I sat through a whole function, and there was just one little comment that really helped me that day. And that was, a bum on the street has 24 hours in a day, and a successful millionaire has 24 hours in his day. It's what you do with those 24 hours. And that really did help me. And I can remember before the business, because we were both self-employed, obviously we wanted to start a family down the road, and, firstly, we didn't have the income to start one, but I also remember thinking, God, if we ever got round to having a family, I can't see that, we'll have the time, let alone the money. And once we got in this business, although life seemed crazy, absolutely crazy for several short months while we were building the business, it is, boy, is it worth it. It really is worth it. Because as Nigel said, when you reach the direct level, if you're structured correctly, you can be earning £1,000 a week. And I know that helps a lot of households. And one thing, it is such a lovely feeling if you're in debt. I can remember being hopelessly in debt, thinking, just how are we going to get the money for this bill? But it's just such a wonderful feeling just to be able to draw a line through your debts, just cross them off and be able to pay the bills once they come through the door. And because of this business, we found ourselves in a position to be able to start a family. And we now have a beautiful little 8-month-old baby boy called George. Well, he's not very little, actually. He's absolutely huge. People are polite when they see him. Say, oh, he's a big boy. I says, yes, he's like a sumo wrestler, isn't he? Oh, yes. I didn't want to say that, Nigel and I are both on a keep fit regime, strict keep fit, so that, we're able to lift him out of the cot because he's that heavy. We don't want to do our backs in. And, now that we've reached the emerald level, not only am I at home all day with him as a full-time parent, but, yep, you've guessed it, Nigel is as well. George has never and will never see his mum or dad get up to an alarm clock and go to work. And that's something I really couldn't see when I first got in the business. It just seemed so far away. And he's a very well trained emerald baby. He doesn't usually wake up much before 9 o'clock, usually. So our usual day is that we get up about 9. We have breakfast as a family, And, we do exactly what we want to do during that day. We have total control of what we're going to do in that day. I've got horses, so they take up a bit of my time. How stressful. Nigel plays a lot of tennis and golf, although he's a fair weather golfer. But tennis he plays indoors, so he can play all year. We live out in the country now, so we go for long walks during the day. Well, not George, he's on Nigel's shoulders. And we do exactly what we want to do. And Nigel said the other day, I don't know how we ever had time for our jobs, And you'll be able to find that as well. And that is all thanks to this business and the team of people that have helped us build it. So when things are really hectic, when you're building the business and you seem to be pulling your hair out, or perhaps the opposite, things could be really slow. Your business could be going through a plateau. It's not growing as fast as you would like it to. We can all relate to that. But just always remember, why am I in this business? What am I doing it for? Look at the lifestyles of your upline emeralds and diamonds. Do you think you could adjust? We've been emerald 4 months now, and I can assure you it doesn't take long to adjust. So always focus on the prize and not the price. In just over 3.5 years, our lives have totally changed for the better in many, many ways. And, we're only just getting started. And Travel was a real burn for us when we got in this business. And already we've visited Sicily, Cyprus, Scotland, Southern Ireland, Isle of Man, Channel Islands. We're going to Madeira next month on a leadership seminar, which we just can't wait for. You know, an all-expensive trip where you're treated like royalty. You've got all your best friends with you, positive-thinking friends like Pat and Greta, Jerry and Mandy, and all the other directs, pearls, emeralds, and diamonds. And of course, in June we visited the States. Now, I'm sure many of you have heard about this trip, but I'm just going to rub it in a little more. For the benefit of new people today, every year the Emeralds and Diamonds take a trip over to the States to visit our upline over there. And I can remember before we went, I kept saying to Nigel, I just can't believe we're going. And all the time we were there, I was pinching myself, thinking, I can't believe we're here. And now we're back, I can't believe we've been. But it was, I can't explain it, it was just wonderful, you know, and it's something you've all got to look forward to. You know, and a lot of people have asked, what was the highlight of the trip? And it was just all brilliant. It's really difficult, you know, thinking of the highlight. Although the glittery dress shop does spring to mind. And I'll tell you a bit about this shop. It was just heaven. You know, you probably heard we had to send a fax to Leslie O'Brien before saying what size we were, what season we were, so that they could get the dresses in. And we went to this shop, and it was huge, and it was all one level. And there was just half of it was glittery dresses, and the other half was smart suits and smart casual wear. And there was just every single colour you can imagine. You know, there's nothing like it in this country. You know, there were orange ones and lime green ones for the warm seasons, and obviously the red and the silver and the gold and pale blue and cream, and it's beautiful. It was just heaven. And every lady in here deserves to be there. It was great. But the best part of the trip, of course, was the company. You know, to spend special time with your leaders and the diamonds in the States, and just to see their lifestyles. Because, you know, when you first get in the business, you hear about the successful upline, don't you? You can see in the profiles, and you can see their beautiful houses and horses and cars and boats, etc. You know, many of you may think, as I did, you know, how materialistic. Because they are very, very wealthy materially. But far, far more important than that, than any of those things, are the fact that they are very, very wealthy in many other ways. You know, we actually saw that they have such an abundance of friends. You know, we saw their total peace of mind. We saw their loving relationships with their wives and their children. We saw that they have a feeling of pride, if you like, and pleasure that they get from helping others achieve. And it was just a dream come true to be with them when they're in such a relaxed frame of mind. You know, and we all start the business, don't we? And we wonder, you know, are those things for us? You know, is it ever going to happen for us? And then you start to build the business, and you listen to your upline, and you realize that, yes, it is possible. It is possible for each and every one of us. Because, as you probably gathered, we are nothing special. And, you know, all we've done is plug into a system 100% and listen to our upline. You know, an upline that made us believe in ourselves, and an upline that made us believe that anybody can build this business. You know, if they're prepared to listen, put some action in, and plug into that system 100%. Well, I've really enjoyed speaking to you. I hope, you know, there's one or two things that have helped. And I'm going to pass you back to Nigel now, because I know he's got a lot more to cover with you. It's been great speaking to you. I'll see you all again soon.
Right. Brilliant. Now you can see why Louise and myself managed to hit the emerald level after listening to Lou there. You know, I'm going to give out a bit of information now. I'm going to have to talk fast because we haven't got a lot of time left. But one of the things that often gets asked when you start building is, well, what do we need to do if we're going to build this business? And sometimes it's very easy to overcomplicate this thing and start coming out with all these wonderful and super-duper things that work and don't work. Really, you need to do three things. You need to plug in the system. You need to show the plan. You need to sell the products. And I'm going to develop more on that a little bit more now. But those are the only three things you really need to do in building this business. You don't need to overcomplicate it any more than that. Because Because if you do those 3 things regularly, the business will work. But I remember Louise and myself getting involved in this business. I was so hanged up on the products. I remember we just received our kit and I made an inventory up of all the products I thought we'd self-use in a month. And I was saying to Louis, wow, I really don't think we're going to move our 140 PVs. Well, I was getting all bogged down in the detail of just who and where we were going to move these products to. And it almost blew me straight back out of the business if it hadn't been for a conversation with my upline, Jerry Kent, who was helping me build the business. And you'll realise as you start building this business, and I realised that, well, hey, if no product, no matter how big an organisation you build, if no products and services move through it, you'll be broke. I remember thinking that. I think, well, that's definitely right, isn't it? But one of the things I would say is don't worry about it. I'm going to touch on a few things of how we develop that goods and services turnover in the organisation. Because we've realised most people we ever work with in this business, just like Louise and myself when we got started, worry about 2 things. Are we going to be able to move these products, and are we going to be able to interest other people in this opportunity? Apart from that, we had no worries. Basically, those are the 2 things that were playing on our mind. But basically, the way we build this business with a free trial, and we thank goodness that Jerry and Mandy Kent, and we're very, very proud they're our sponsors, but we thank goodness they gave us a proper start in the business. And the way we build the business is by giving people a free trial. No one gets involved in this business before they've had a free trial in the business. It's very important to help people not only develop their organisation, but to help people develop their customer base as well. And we do this in 2 ways, really, of picking up the no's from the plans we show and picking up the no's from the ad packs we use. Because today the ad pack is a fantastic tool because it talks about the goods and services in that. And we can pick up those no's. And I believe it's a very important thing. Sometime in me starting my business, I remember just by not opening my mouth, I lost thousands of pounds of revenue for the future. Because sometimes I wouldn't develop the courage just to ask somebody, are you interested in saving some money? If you're not interested in making money, are you interested in saving some money? And that's all it takes in building this business, is having the courage sometimes to open the mouth and just ask a very, very simple question indeed. So you help people get their turnover sorted out. That's going to give them a lot of confidence, and it's also going to help them start making some money out of the business in the early days. If you think about this business, if you develop an organisation where everyone in it is only doing a quarter, say, of the turnover, 35, well, then you need 4 times the numbers to develop the income. And that's an incredible waste if you actually build a business like that. Also, we found it very important to help people develop their turnover so that when they start showing the plan, they're actually showing the plan, they don't feel like a hypocrite. I know to myself, there's no way I could stand up and show the plan and say, this is you, and you develop your 140, and there's me thinking, this is me, and I'm doing 20. There's no way I'd feel good in doing that. Because I'd be thinking to myself, well, I can't even do it. I'm telling these people, this is what we do, and I can't even master it myself. So one of the things you need to do is spend time in helping people when they start up in a business develop their turnover. Because if we hadn't had that help from our upline, I think we probably wouldn't be in the business today. It's very important to lead people by example in this business. Sometimes just by not doing a few things, they're always going to look back and to a certain extent, I know there's people, I've had this question said to me, I learned many times in the business. I'll be teaching someone something and say, well, this is what you need to do. And say, well, you didn't do that with us. I think, oh, didn't I? And I think the point is you've got to start off as you mean to go on. Treat the business professionally now because it's going to pay you dividends down the road. And if you start doing things which are a little bit off track from the system and from the pattern we use, you're going to have people question you down the road as to why you did that. And this is why we need to keep very tightly plugged in with our upline and a team of people who are helping us build the business. Because when we start out in this business, we don't know what's right and what's wrong sometimes, do we? And that's where the team comes in. You don't need to be a world authority on the business because we're working with a team of people who've got 34 years experience behind them. So we don't need to be the world authority ourselves. We just need to plug in and learn from those people with the experience. Something that's going to really help people develop the business is to become 100% self-users of the products. Imagine not only for the practice it's going to help them do their own personal turnover, but also you feel like a hypocrite again. If you basically, well, yes, I sell it, but I don't use it. If you ever get into that position, you're not going to build a very big business. Also, it shows your upline you're being serious. If you're 100% self-user of the business, you send a message to your upline, hey, I'm treating this business seriously, I want to go places with this business. Also, imagine you started developing the business and you weren't 100% self-user of the products. Someone comes into your house and you aren't using the dish drops. what are they going to think? They're going to think this person doesn't believe in what they're doing. This person doesn't believe in this business enough to use the products themselves. Now imagine you went into a Mercedes dealership and the owner of the Mercedes dealership was breezing around in a top-of-the-range BMW. You might be slightly suspicious, mightn't you, that the top-of-the-range BMW was better than the Mercedes. Now, okay, you could understand it if you went into a Yugo dealership and he was driving a BM. But basically, you wouldn't have much faith in his product, would you, if he wasn't using it himself? And that's what I'm saying. It's very important to do that. So you're putting in place the organisation today that thousands and thousands of more products are going to flow through down the road. I remember Fred and Linda Hartice, when they first came over when we first saw them in this country, was 4 years ago, just after we got involved in the business. I remember Fred talked about a person he contacted for the business, and they had just a few products they were working with in America at the time, back in 1973. And this bloke said, well, you haven't really got enough products yet. He said, I'll tell you what, Fred, when you've got things like tea or coffee, he said, I'll be interested, because I reckon I could shift some of that stuff. Anyway, Fred started building his business, and he bumped into this guy. He said, you got tea or coffee yet? He said, no, I haven't got tea and coffee yet. Fred carried on building his organisation. A few months, he bumped into this same character again. He said, got tea or coffee yet, Fred? He says, no, I haven't got tea and coffee yet. No. Carried on building his organisation, got bigger and bigger, bumped into this guy again. He said, got tea and coffee yet? No, I haven't got tea and coffee yet. Built a bigger and bigger organisation, eventually bumped into this guy. Bloke said, have you got tea or coffee yet? And Fred said, yeah, actually we have got tea and coffee now. This bloke says, right, I'll get involved. But when Fred Hartice got tea or coffee in his organisation, suddenly that was thousands and thousands and thousands more generated volume. For this guy who sat down having a cup of the coffee, making his list, thinking, wonder who I'm going to invite then. So you worry about the products you've got now. What's going to come down the road is going to blow everyone's mind. We're dealing with thousands of products now throughout the world. When Louise and myself were recently in America, what blew our mind was when we were at Jerry and Polly and Fred and Linda's and Bill and Leslie's house, and people in our upline have helped us build the business for the benefit of the new people. We couldn't believe it. Everything we seem to touch, well, that's from the business. We'd be on the pedalos on Jerry's Lake. They're from the business. Be the office equipment in Fred's office. That's from the business. The tyres on their car, that was from the business. Everything we seem to touch was from the business. You see, don't worry about what you haven't got today in this country. Because you're putting in place the organisation today that thousands and thousands more products are going to flow through later on. Work with what you've got now. That's the important thing. So part of what you need to generate in this business, you need to be flexible. I've seen so many people almost come unstuck in the early days because I wouldn't be that flexible with the business. I would be booking plans up or something like that, and someone was saying, well, I'm working until 10 o'clock tonight. I tell you what, I wouldn't be able to get together you until sort of 10:30. And I thought, oh, that's inconvenient. Is that old inconvenience again coming? I had to be up early in the morning. Today, you've got to realise that by showing the plan, it's going to pay you dividends down the road. If it means maybe going out and doing a plan at 10:30, great, so be it. Don't worry about it. Get out and be flexible enough to do what it takes to build the business. Don't expect it to fall all in nicely and agree with your diary of exactly what happens. That is not going to happen with this business. The second thing I'm going to talk about is you need to develop the ability to show the plan. And to me, this was a major fear on getting involved in this business. Stand up in front of a room full of people or one person and actually talk to them. People I didn't know, just draw the circles on them. You see, and one of the things I'll forever thank Jerry and Mandy Kent for is they did not let it become a mental monster with me. They let me do it quite early on. Although I was scared death of it, they would not carry on doing everything for me in this business. Because I tell you what, I appreciate today, if they had just gone on showing all my plans for me, it would have become a massive, massive mental monster. But they wouldn't do that. They let me show the plan early on in the business because they knew I needed to overcome that fear if I was going to build a big organisation. And I remember one of the early plans I went there and there was this lady, she was sat there, she was so ugly the tide wouldn't take her out.